Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Coco in the Sun podcast. I am your host, Malika Critchlow, and very happy to be here as we continue our readings of the Hathor Material, Chapter 6. So, first of all, I just want to, those of you that are looking at the YouTube video, have an ongoing headache today. So my hair looks a little untidy because I can't put it too tight. I can't pull it too tight. Headache started last night. Thought maybe I needed to drink more water. I was dehydrated, so I've been drinking water and coconut water. Still woke up with it this morning. So it's like a constant headache, but it's not horrible, but it's irritating, consistently irritating, which in the long run can be just as bad as an acute feeling, right? So now I'm thinking maybe I'm processing some new information and my body is getting used to it. I think so also because it's before the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Usually before things, that week or the few days before, I have stuff like this, like integrating whatever is integrating. And then I'm usually good on the actual day, except for the solar eclipse. The solar eclipse, I was spacey that day. I didn't have like the headache thing. I had that the days before, which I usually do, but I was spacey. So let's see, I don't know what's gonna happen with this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And I don't know I don't know what's going on with this headache. But yeah, it tends to be something I'm integrating or in drinking enough water. Or it's that time of the month. It's not that time of the month, so I tend to think I'm integrating something. Anyway, but I still wanted to do the reading because I really want to know what chapter 6 has to say. If there's anything I'm supposed to learn from it about my journey. I'm really enjoying the readings. I think like the gap from like Friday to like Wednesday might be too long, but on those days I work on my other podcast, right? I work on Vogue Caribbean, which I do for Saturday. And then Mondays I do Hello Friend News. So kind of I'm doing something every day except for Sunday, which is a rest, which is kind of cool. And the things that I'm doing doesn't take 8 hours. Granted, they're not financially sustainable at the moment, but they have potential to be. And I enjoy doing all three. They don't feel like work and I enjoy doing it. So I guess I could do like 2 a day if I wanted, but the thing is I get mixed up with the downloads and the videos and which video. I'm nervous I mix up and upload the wrong one. So I had kind of have it on a schedule for my own organizational um understanding. Um, so that's it. But what has been going on? Okay, so what I've noticed is initially on this journey, I was clearing traumas or past issues that I needed to see from a different perspective, like densities. But just remembering random things from a long time ago that had no reason to remember. It's irritating me or putting me in a bad mood. I didn't know why this wouldn't go away. My mind kept coming back to it. Then I realized, well, okay, I think I'm clearing stuff. So I understood that. Then I was getting stuff in my dreams. It seemed that I was clearing stuff, not traumatic stuff that occurred in my dreams. In my dreams, I was clearing understanding aspects of my own personality. that I needed to accept and love and just be honest about, right? Things that some were good, but some that were not so good. And it was kind of showing me myself, and the things that I judge, a lot of things that I judge. And I think a lot of like past life understanding comes in the dreams. And so things I would judge in this life, they would kind of show me, well, thank you. That person in another life. So maybe you shouldn't judge that person so hard, that kind of thing. So I thought that was like the second phase. So like past traumas, past issues, writing that, the judgments. And like, so now I realize also, I think I kind of like initiate these things a little bit because I would say, is there any wisdom I need to know from my multidimensionality that will help me right now in the progress and evolution of this lifetime that I'm living? That's good to process now, that won't overwhelm me and I would, benefit from it. Or like, so it's like the dreams were coming like that, right? So it's like, I also feel like it's in phases. It's like you clear one level and then another level starts clearing. And then, so now I realize that when I have interactions in person that are not living up to who I think I am, I'm now able to not judge myself in the interaction, look at it from a objective perspective. I said, okay, why did I feel like that when that person did that? And how can I address that within myself without being like, you could have done better, or you're not really progressing, or you're not as, awakened as you think you are, or you're not the love that you think you are. It's not that. It's like, okay, that's okay. You're learning. The fact that you're aware of it means that you will eventually be better. It's gentle integrations. And let's look at why you felt this way, what's going on here, so that you understand when it happens again, you probably won't feel that way. So I noticed that that's like the stage I'm at now. I also think I triggered it a little bit because like in the mornings now I go, well, I wait. So I have my daily intentions that I regularly say anyway, right? And then sometimes I say this for today and every day that I live this life, just in case I forget to say it a morning, it's still intentioned, right? Then I go through the intentions, whatever. But like every day, like I have specific, like I wake up and I feel the day and I'm like, okay, what do I want to learn today? What do I want to know today to see if it comes true, right? And it's really cool. Because most of the times I forget what I asked for. And then like later in the day, I'll be like, oh, they did kind of like, I did get an answer for this. So I did get some understanding of this or whatever, right? So for the past few days, I've been like, okay, so let me tell you, this is this is what happened. Um, so I'm trying to create the reality I want to live in. Been doing like been working on this since like November, right? And getting more attuned to what I enjoy, my heart's joys. You have to flush out fears, you have to flush out uncertainties, you have to face a lot of your like embedded coding that is you, so that just doesn't come up all at once and you're aware of, right? It's like things that live with you that you don't know is living with you. And then when you find out, when you just all of a sudden you have like this like light bulb go off and you'll be like, oh, I really do think this. Like, I know I think this is normal, but this isn't normal. So I'll give you an example. I used to think everything works out. Like I had no problem believing you could create your reality and things could work out for you. I just thought it works out for everyone else and not for me. And one day the light bulb went off and I was like, yo, I don't think it works out for me. Like I think it works out for other people. And I know that I think this, like I know that I hold this, but I never knew, like I was never aware of it. It was just something I lived with. Like it'll never work out for me. Yeah, it'll work out for her, but it won't work out for me. So I had to clear that. That's an example of living with like some like a blueprint thing. And it's just part of your normal thinking process that you're not aware of it, right? And you live it, like you live it. So then it doesn't occur for you. It occurs for other people. Other people do the risk, take the risk, and they get to the next side of it, and you take the risk, and you're like, well, I'm not getting to the next side of it. So it's a lot of like stuff like that, besides just like fears. So then you have the fears and stuff like that. So I've been trying to do this since November. And like so there's different stages of it, right? Like you do the fears, uncertainties, blueprints, things that you hold beliefs for that block you, stuff like that. And I was at a stage where I was like, you know what? It's been all this work so long. And I'm not seeing this in my reality. Like, what is going on? Like, I am so exhausted with it. But I was past the point of not believing it would happen, right? I still believed it would happen. There was a point where it came to previously where you either believe what your internal is telling you or you believe what your external is telling you. You got to make a decision. Like, are you believing the synchronicities and the dream that you have for your life and confirmations that that dream is the right path for you, right? You get confirmations now. Like you get dreams, you get understandings, you get synchronicities. You get a lot of that. You just don't actually see it occurring in your reality. So you're like, what is this true or is not true? So I had come to that point where I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna believe like the internal or whatever, right? So we passed that. But now I'm like exhausted. So I'm like, okay, I believe it. I believe it's gonna work out. I believe it's but oh my God. How much more is there to go with this? And just completely exhausted. Like, it's like, no more. Like, whatever happened, happened. And then I saw like this YouTube video and they were saying that that is actually part of the process because you're still getting lessons in preparation for what you're trying to create, right? Things to make sure that when it does come into your reality, that you're able to handle it, you're prepared for it, right? So it could be like how you handle money, how you approach relationships, how you see yourself. It could be a number of things, right? So so the past few days I've been like, I would like to know what else I need to clear that's good for me to clear today, that won't overwhelm me, and I still have a good experience to bring me closer to the reality that I want, to the divine partner, to um success, whatever, right? And um I've been having um these eye-opening interactions with myself and with other people, right? Not horrible, like not like horrible, but just like, yo, I'm still dealing with these things. So, um, so yeah, but I think that that also occurs in ways to allow me to not judge others as well. Because when I look at myself in this way, I have to be like, you're still loved. You're working through it. It'll happen in time. You're aware of it now. Why did you do this? Why do you feel this way when this happens? Why is your response this? How can we understand that you may be telling yourself a story that's not true? So that's what's going on right now. I'll give you an example. Well, kind of example. I have an issue with people that don't have integrity. And I found this out when I did the QHHT hypnosis, right? So one of the questions I had written down for the hypnotist to ask while I was under was, what can I work on to be a better person, a better me? And I remember her saying, because for me, the hypnosis, like, I wasn't out of it. Like, I was there, but I was answering and had access to knowledge that I didn't know I had access to. So it was like me answering, but answering in a different way than I would normally speak, and knowing things in a moment, not even knowing it before she asked. Just as I was speaking, I would know what I was going to say. I don't know. It was weird. So basically, I remember her saying, oh, sorry, guys. I remember her saying, what does she have to do to be like a better person? Because she's already pretty much a decent person. Like, I don't think there's much that she has to do. And they were like, no, she judges people that lack integrity, and she needs to love everyone. So she allows people to be themselves, and she loves diversity, but she judges people that lack integrity, and she judges people that don't allow for diversity, that don't allow people to be themselves. And I'm not, we're supposed to love everybody no matter what. That was the first inkling that the judging people that lack integrity thing came up, right? And I continued to have that issue because I had a nurse I was working with that may not have lacked integrity, but to me, her work ethic was different. And I judged her for it, right? But and so I didn't think it was much of an issue. Like, I try to live my life the best way. Like, I don't try to hurt anybody and stuff like that. But let me tell you, last night, I saw myself and my integrity in a way that I did not before. I didn't lie or anything like that, but probably purchase things I have no business purchasing at this point in my creation of reality, right? Aspect, like where I am in the process, I needed to be more careful with the finances. And I just purchased what I wanted to purchase. I was looking at that. I was like, you know what? That can be an aspect of integrity because I have no idea how I'm going to pay this back. And I'm still moving forward with the purchase. And so I had to look at it. I had to look at it and be like, well, this is the situation you're in. You're stressed. It's been a while. This will make you feel good. Put you in a good frequency because you're happy to get what's coming, right? So you'll be in a good frequency and stuff like that, which will continue, to put you more in line with what you want to come to you. Because the closer you get to your own frequency, the closer you get, I understand, to the life that you want, or to things that are curated specifically for your kind of enjoyment or frequency, right? So that would be accomplished with purchase. And by extension, could bring the abundance you need to pay for the purchase, right? That's not the issue. The issue was, should you have done that? Should you have done that? Should you have done that, considering your circumstance? And so, yeah, I had to look at myself and of course, you know, soothe myself and understand why it occurred, why I was doing it, and give myself some grace for it. But also look at, okay, you judge other people for integrity, and your integrity is not in a situation where you could judge other people. You shouldn't judge people anyway, whether my integrity was perfect, which I thought it was prior, right? You still shouldn't judge people because you don't know the full story of what they're dealing with, and you don't know what their journey is, and you don't know what they came here to learn. And you don't know what you were before if you believe in reincarnation, right? So I was like, yeah, okay, humble vibes. A bubble right down. I was like, yeah, I gotta look at myself and how I look at people because I am no better. So that cleared, right? I didn't know that I felt superior to others based on integrity, and now I cannot. So stuff like that is occurring now, right? That involved nobody else. It was really just me. But I'm aware of it, paying attention that it's coming to my notice. I'm looking at why things are occurring, what I'm learning from it, stuff like that. So now that seems to be the phase that I'm in of while living my daily life, I'm looking at my actions, my responses. They're all like teaching me lessons. And so I think that's a different phase. I don't know. But I do ask, what else can I clear? So maybe I am heading into the reality that I want, and I'm going to have to deal with my own integrity, maybe, I don't know, to make sure that I stay on point. Or maybe I'll be dealing with people that lack integrity and I need to hold space for that and grace for that. I don't know exactly how it's going to show up, but I know that that was the lesson that I needed to learn, right? And another thing today, I went to the park, I love the park. And this guy was just like staring, this older white guy, and not in a nice way, right? He's just staring. I was like, what the hell is he staring at? Like, why? So I was looking back, you know, not aggressively, but like, hi. And then I was like, so what if he's looking? I don't know why he's looking. I know his expression doesn't look friendly, but I don't know if his expressions really match what he's feeling. I don't even know if he's thinking and just looking in my direction. Like, why was I so perturbed with this thing? You know? And so I had to look at it. I had to be like, well, why do you feel like that? You don't like being stared at because you feel like you're being judged. You feel like you're not good enough, or people are thinking negative things about you. Why are you telling yourself that story? Where did that story come from? And how can we change the story so that people could look in your direction or at you and you not feel this way, and maybe you just smile back and say hi or something. You know what I mean? That could have been an opportunity for a good interaction to make a new friend instead of what it wasn't much of anything, right? It was just a little stare down, and then I moved along because I was walking the beautiful park, and I forgot about it a little while later because the park is just gorgeous with the trees and the birds and all the wildlife and stuff like that. I wasn't in a bad mood, but I was just like checking myself. So I find like that's happening now, like stuff coming in, and that seems to be the phase that I'm clearing. 'Cause I don't know, like, and then this week I wasn't having much dreams or anything. And I was like, oh, maybe I cleared all I needed to clear. The dreams aren't as much anymore. Oh, I kind of get the understanding I needed to understand. And now it's time to go to the next phase. Like, and they're like, hold up, no, we're going to use a different route now. You're going to learn this way now. Well, I am grateful for myself for being able to pick up how I'm learning and what I'm learning and what's being grouped and processed. Yeah. So grateful for that. And so what I was going to say was, I feel like the process kind of is in. So I was looking at Antaka's video. I like Antaka, right? She's the ancient frequencies, stuff like that. And she has a video every Friday, and she's like loads of them on there because I only found her about like late last year, and she's been doing videos for a few years. So there's a lot of videos I still haven't looked at. But anyway, so one of her videos, she was kind of describing what the process was, like the integration. And I think it's like, she said, like, it's the masculine and feminine aspects, which is like your heart and mind, your action and intuition, those like things need to integrate. They need to be balanced, right? So you need to be able to listen to your intuition to act, or listen to your heart for your mind to start thinking how to do what the heart wants to do, that kind of thing. And they work together in tandem, like in equal precision. It's not like one's better than the next or whatever. It's like a balanced movement in order to get you living a more like fulfilled whole life. So once that's starting to integrate and meld, because I feel like everything, there's no like end to anything, right? It always like melds more and a different expansion, right? But once that starts to meld at a state where it's decent, or you can start melding the multidimensionality aspect. I did not know what they meant by multidimensionality. Of course, it means different dimensions, but I couldn't grasp it fully, like I can understand in my own life, right? So for me, I think what it means is, and what I've noticed is, what the dream started being like, I think it's past lives. I would be having these dreams. I wasn't in it, but I feel like I was in it, about people, right? Like a 53-year-old photographer, a very obese person, a thief, a serial killer, um, a mother, a father, um, just different things, right? Not, some of it was boring stuff, and some of it was like regular stuff. And then some of it was like stuff that would be, I would consider horrible to experience. But when I was dreaming it, it just felt like, oh, I understand how this shows me love in a different way, a different depth of love. Um, like the serial killer one, what I understood from that life was that that person, and I don't know if that's a past life or not, right? But I understood that that person didn't understand that love came from within and was looking for love outside externally. And um was killing in a way to capture it, right? It was weird. It was a weird understand, but I understood it, that everything stemmed from love, and each life was showing love in a different form. Like the thief was stealing, but he was stealing because he had to steal to survive. Like it wasn't because he was just stealing to steal, right? It was like, you can't just judge a book by its cover. Like you just don't know what the layers are. So I think that might be multidimensionality, where there are different aspects that you've lived, that you accept, that you love, so that you're able to view others in your lifetime, that maybe these things that you were with less judgment. I don't think it's done, the multidimensionality aspect, the learnings, because I would think it would be different dimensions too. And so I would have to find out stuff about lives that were not human lives on Earth. So far, it's just been like human lives on Earth. And those are not all the lives. Like I can't remember. Like it's been consistent for a few weeks. But so I'm like, I haven't seen any alien lives or galactic lives or lives as other beings or anything like that. But I suppose that exists as well, right? If you think like on a logical basis, but that hasn't come in yet. And it's probably because I'm not ready to process that yet. I don't think everything comes in when you're ready for it. However, they know that you're ready, like, then the stuff comes in. So, right. So then it's a divine feminine and masculine integration and balancing. then the multidimensionality. And then she said after the multidimensionality, then it's I did see lives as different beings. Like two. No. Yeah, two. I think. Anyway, and so then after the multidimensionality, then it's like she said, like your I am or your like higher self starts integrating. So I don't really understand fully. I am just living my life, trying to make sense of the experience that I'm having. But I definitely have not experienced all the stuff that she's describing. But I am happy with the pace that I'm going. And I only want things to occur as they should occur, as my highest, my eternal self thinks best, that I think is best, that my guides, my angels think is best for me to integrate at the time that is for me to integrate. I trust that process. And like people have different gifts and stuff like that. I'm not in a rush. Whenever they think I'm ready for those things to come in, they will come in and be beautiful. So I'm really happy with the process so far. But yeah, so this is what's going on, I think. But yeah, so like I've been asking to know, okay, so what else? What other lessons do I need to learn that's good for me to learn today to get me closer to the life that I want, to my abundance, to my divine partner, blah, blah, blah. And so these days have been pretty interesting interactions and understandings about myself and my character. And loving myself, even if the character isn't what I tell myself that it is, and still, so it's kind of cool. So yeah, that's where I am. I did talk a lot today, huh? With someone who has a headache. Anyways, so let's see if we can get anything done with chapter 6 because I talk so much now. Will I have the patience to read chapter 6? That is the question. Because chapter 6 is a lot, but I like doing the chapter a day because I feel the last time I did it like broke it up and I didn't like how it broke. Chapter 6, part 1, chapter 6, part 2. I'm going to attempt, but if it's too much because my head is hurting too much, then I'll have to break it up into 2. I should not have taught that much, huh? I don't know. Anyway, so chapter 6, we are talking about the ascending spiral. Let me start a step before. Let's see. The ascending spiral. The ascending spiral is a term we use to describe the process of consciously moving upward in consciousness. As you begin this process of moving upward along the spiral, your body, your relationships, and your ways of serving are all elevated. Even the elements that comprise your physical body are elevated. In our understanding, everything is elevated, not just the mind. I believe this is true. Sorry, I just drank an ill here and it digest. I think this is true because I find like my relationships are quality. I am loving my physicality much more than I ever did. And my ways of serving, I think I'm kinder, more understanding, but this has not been fully fleshed out yet. As you see, I'm still processing some behaviors. Anyway, as you begin to move upward, you can mark your own progress based on observation of the changes occurring in your 4 cornerstone relationships. The relationship to your body, to others, to your service, and to the sacred elements. Your relationship to others is especially helpful as a barometer of your progress. Ask yourself, what's happening in my realm of relationships? Are they truthful and meaningful? The elevation and clarity of your relationships will tell you in a very honest and direct manner where you are along the spiral. So I find like now, like my relationships, I am a lot more honest, even if I think it will not be perceived well. I'm okay with that because I'm okay with loving myself. So if I'm not accepted because of how I am or who I am quite okay with that and okay with being aligned with people that are okay with me being me. Also, I just wanted to say, because I was thinking about this today, that they talk about relationships, but I had this understanding today that everything stems from self. So your relationship with yourself will reflect the type of relationships I believe you have with others, right? So if you're gentle and kind and honest and authentic with yourself, if you look at yourself fully in love and accept yourself, if you forgive yourself, if you're not judgmental to yourself, this is how you will be with other people. They may not be the same way, and then you will have to adjust for what's good for you and what's not good for you, but also they will adjust too because they'll be like, well, I don't know if she's for me. You know what I mean? So all of that, like, it works itself out, but again, it all starts with you. Because I was having this thing like last night, like I don't have the dreams anymore, but I have a lot of like good feelings. Like I had like really, really good feelings. Monday was a blissful day. I don't know what that was, but bliss. Okay? Bliss. Bliss. I have never experienced love. Like I just felt very, very loving and all the like I never felt that loving in my life. And if that's where we're headed, let me tell you, it's lovely. It is the best feeling in the world. Okay. And then Tuesday night, I was feeling very loved myself in my sleep. I don't know. I woke up feeling like I was being loved, like everything about me was amazing and lovable and interesting. And I don't know, like I had that. I don't remember the dreams. I don't think it was a dream. It was just like a feeling of being completely loved and accepted. And that was a beautiful feeling Tuesday night because Tuesday I had a pretty neutral day. And I was like, well, how come I didn't learn anything today? And then I had such a beautiful night. And then Wednesday night now, last night, just absolute gratefulness. Like I saw myself kissing the ground, like kissing the earth. I'm so grateful for the earth and grateful for the sun and for the seas and for the house and for the relationships and the people in my life and for myself. And then it came to grateful for yourself, grateful to yourself, grateful for yourself, grateful for yourself. It was showing like it was like pounding being grateful, right? After I was grateful for all that was, then being grateful for myself. And then I understood today, if you're grateful for yourself, then you're grateful for all things because you are all things, because you are an individuation of all that is. Let me tell you. So again, gratefulness or thankfulness, it all starts with you. So relationships with others starts with you, which is your relationship with yourself, and that will determine your relationship with others. Your love for yourself determines your love for others. Your forgiveness, your non-judgmental for yourself determines if others, and it will happen naturally. Like you won't have to work at being non-judgmental to others as long as you don't judge yourself. You wouldn't have to work at being grateful because you'll just naturally be grateful for everything if you're grateful for yourself. That's like, I think that's how it works. Anyway, for me, so I was saying like this book doesn't really say how to, or maybe they're going to talk about it now. I don't know how to garner good relationships per se, because it could be fake if you're trying to be something you're not with someone, right? Like if you're like, oh, I know I'm supposed to be kind and loving, and you're just actually doing it, just doing the action, but you don't feel it, you know. You don't want to be kind of like you're not, want to serve and want to be kind and want to help. Like that's a different feeling. And I think it has to do with how you are with yourself. Then you just want to do that for others. What you experience yourself, you just want other people to experience. I think that's what has been true for me, I will say. I'm not saying someone else can have a different experience and may have a different route to get there. But for me, the route has been from that to myself, then I'm that to everyone else, without having to make an effort to be that for everyone else, because it's just a natural extension of myself. Because everyone else is a natural extension of myself. Anyways, let me stop. If you feel, for instance, that you're very evolved and yet your relationships are difficult and a source of trouble and disharmony, then you can be assured that you are deluded with humor. We have noticed that there are some humans who go into what we call the ascension process and then proceed to cut themselves off from personal relationships and learning opportunities they offer. What we would say to them is that they have cut off their most powerful mirror, a most powerful feedback process capable of telling them whether or not they are ascending or are simply deluding themselves. There is great danger of self-delusion in the process of ascension. I understand what they're saying. You do need to be in relationship to kind of see how you maneuver and if you're able to not feel the same way that you felt before. But I feel like at first you do need, anyway, this has been my experience. You do need the time alone without harmful emotional, unintentional interactions in order to find out who you really are and what you really want, what makes you happy, and what your joys are. Because sometimes it's very loud, all these other people with all their thoughts that meanwhile unintentionally, but are not really being kind to your evolution. And that's because they haven't done the work in their own evolution to be aware of what they're doing, right? They are following through their ego and doing what's safe, fear-based, right? So I do think you do need to get to that point, and that could take some time because it could be a lot that you have to undo. But I do think you will know when you're ready to interact again, and then you'll see how you interact with certain individuals, if you're able to see who they are, understand where they are in their process without judging it, be love to them in a way that doesn't harm your frequency or your emotions, your feelings. So I do think that occurs. It doesn't mean, I think they're saying you just have to be around everybody and master that. I think that takes time to master. And it occurs naturally as you process through this evolution of being ever more true to yourself and creating the life and attracting the relationships and people and experiences into your reality, I think. So while you would probably still have interactions with people you're probably not aligned with, sometimes you would handle those interactions at a level where you know how to master yourself and your frequency. You get what I'm saying? Like what happened today with the guy that was looking at me. And looking at how I felt, why I felt like that, and using that process to try and undo whatever stories I was telling myself or my ego was telling myself. And it could be that my ego was just trying to protect me, because generally when people look at you that way, they don't mean good, and that's just historically what the ego learns. And so it was just trying to protect me in a way. It doesn't mean like the ego is a bad thing. It's just doing the best for me based on what it knows. But it doesn't need to be that. So I think, but I do think that occurs with the other people. Like you kind of mean, eventually, because you do want to be out and you want to talk to people and you want to meet people and you want to have good times and good experiences and stuff like that. So it does happen naturally. I don't think you need to stress, like when you're ready to do it, you'll do it, essentially is what I'm saying. But I don't know if they're talking about people that don't really do it at all, which means they're not going through the process of their own healing and clearing and the densities and stuff, and it just basically keeping those densities and not putting themselves in stressful situations. So you cannot put yourself in stressful situations while trying to clear what you can until you have to deal with stressful situations again, I think. But anyway, let's continue, because there's a greater danger of self-delusion in the process. There is a greater danger of self-delusion in the process of ascension. Self-delusion can actually increase on the path of ascension due to something called spiritual ego. As one traverses the upward spiral, there will be an increase in one's abilities and powers. If unchecked, the spiritual ego tends to become smug and self-inflated. This lack of discernment and humility is dangerous. Why? Because you will fall from the elevated states of awareness if you look at others with disdain and separation. So the spiritual ego can be a very real problem that emerges as one starts the process of moving upward. And this is why relationships are also such an important part of the process. Yeah, because it will tell you if you're judging people, if you feel superior based on your integrity. In ancient Egypt, people who were not psychologically or socially balanced would not be admitted to the mystery schools. This was a wise decision because it was too dangerous to activate the higher energies without having the necessary clarity and stability. To understand the ascending spiral concept more easily, picture a pyramid of balance that is with its square base having 4 base points and a pinnacle at the top, as you observed in diagram 6. Chapter 5. Now picture a spiral starting at any base point and moving up the pinnacle. See diagram 7. This diagram 7. You see the spiral? Notice that any upward moving spiral will have a possibility of 4 movements, 1 from each base point. In fact, the spiral can move upward from any one or all 4 of the base points. You can, for instance, enter the spiral process by clarifying and cultivating positive relationships with others. You can enter the ascending spiral through your highest vision of service. You can also enter the spiral by cultivating your own life force. And you can rise up the spiral by clarifying your relationship to the sacred elements of earth, fire, water, and air. You have 4 possible spirals then that can move independently or together, and of course, together is the most powerful of all. If you utilize the powerful and synergy of 4 spirals moving upward simultaneously, enormous growth in consciousness is possible because the ascending spiral is never ending. The spiral of ascension extends upward to infinity, and there is no limit to the heights you can reach. However, the rate of conscious advancement using those 4 aspects within the spiral at any given time must be balanced. Let's say that you wish to move upward in a balanced spiral. How would you do that? By reaching the same level of consciousness and capability in all 4 areas simultaneously, omitting none of them. If you elevate the car and you elevate your relationships and you elevate your work and you elevate your elements, then that foundation has moved up and you're in balance. But if you have developed your car and moved that up, and you have developed a chord with the elements and moved that up, and you've developed your service, but you pay no attention to your ships, then you've got a mess with laughter. Why? Because what should be a balanced plane of stability is tilted dangerously in one sector. Consequently, when the spiral starts to move up, it cannot go any higher because the foundation on that corner of the pyramid is not there. It's missing. It is best to elevate all four positions of the pyramid so your growth can be stable. The way to conceive of it is to surrender to and become dedicated to the highest possibilities in each of the four areas or situations. Surrender yourself to a vision of the highest situation as you interact with any human, and then come from that attitude. That's a good way. Always expect the best. If in your relationship to your own life force energy, just accept the reality of whatever is happening and work to improve it. If, for instance, you surrender yourself to the possibility of achieving the highest personal energy and health, then you must act in a way to try and bring that possibility into existence by making the right lifestyle choices. Thus, by surrendering to the highest possibility in each of the four areas or situations, all four areas become harmonious. This intention of the highest possibility should balance out the four foundation areas of your life if properly attended to, allowing your frequency shift to occur in balance. Reflecting on and then choosing to grow in these four areas of life is very important from what many humans normally do, however. Oh, I'm sorry, it's very different from what many humans normally do. So they're saying that we don't usually balance these four corners, which are to reiterate your relationship to your body, your relationship to yourself, your relationship to others, and your relationship to the four elements. By the way, I believe you may contain the four elements because you have water, you're made of earth. Fire would be the warmth of your body and the chemical processes occurring. And air would be what you breathe in to live, the oxygen that's exchanged in the lungs and the carbon dioxide that exchanged and is let out. So again, I don't know if this is a shortcut. It feels like it to me. If you're grateful for yourself, you kind of cover all the bases. If you are. If you're loved to yourself, grateful to yourself, if you appreciate yourself, if you honor yourself, all these things I think would be covered and occur naturally, right? But that's my little thing. That's my theory. I'm testing it out. Y'all let me know if you think so too, okay? So the process of moving up the spiral of ascension takes energy. It is far easier to simply be in lethargy and unconsciousness, which is the state and the choice of many human beings. It takes energy to move up the spiral and into the higher realms. We know there are some people who say that the path to higher states of consciousness is very easy, and it doesn't really take any work, only thought. However, we would say in our experience over millennia that is not true. It does take effort. Now, there is grace along the way that helps, but it still takes effort to move through places that do not wish to change and grow. I agree. Some places are pretty dense. What allows you to have the energy to move upwards is the car. Only the ample car and ample life force will you have the power and the strength to clear your thoughts and balance your emotions. You need the energy to successfully interact with someone, or you will not even have the possibility of surrendering to the highest vision for that relationship. In fact, without sufficient life force, you will be so depleted that you can barely interact at all. That is why we started with and why we keep reinforcing this basic concept. You must build a car. You must build the life force. And those are the exercises they gave for you to visualize with the pillar of light back in, I think, chapters 2 and 3, to help build the car. They also mentioned unconditional love and unconditional acceptance an exercise in that helps. It does something to the DNA they mentioned. It unlocks some aspect of the DNA, which then affects the car and the emotional and body and thoughts. So unconditional love is one of the keys to doing that, but also they gave some visual exercises to do that. I also think like being true to yourself and your joys is an aspect of unconditional love and loving yourself, which also leads to feeling good, your emotions and thoughts being in a good place, which could help the car, I think. That's just off of, again, my own theories. You know what it is? I feel like for me, the process should be enjoyable, like a discovery of self and all the aspects and how cool that is, and discovery of what makes you happy and the joys, and following along that path kind of leads to all these things. And this just seems very process driven. And I don't think I'm process driven personally. I think a lot of people are, and they can do that. But for me, I think I like joy. And I feel like following your joy leads to all of this. Love leads to all of this. Loving yourself. Aspect of following your joy is loving yourself. So I think a more personal relationship with yourself kind of leads to all of these things unlocking naturally, instead of this being so process driven. But I do think this is a great explanation of how it all works on the subtle levels, right? Like how each body affects the next body and stuff like that. I think that's what it is for me. But we shall see. I could be wrong. But that's how I enjoy it, and that's how I feel it's been moving along for me. You need, you must build your car, you must build a life force. As you treasure your life force, it is natural to also treasure opportunities to relate with people, opportunities to do your life's work. This is true. The opportunities to become fully aware of the elements. This combination brings you up the spiral where you achieve a new level of stability and balance. And once you've reached that new level, there's another new level to master. In fact, there is a non-ending choice regarding how masterful you can be. Non-ending. We have learned that once you have attained a certain level of self-mastery, a new level opens and you can choose to move up the spiral to the next level if you wish, provided you elevate all four aspects of the pyramid of balance. Now, Virginia, has our material created any questions in your mind? Virginia, related to the description of the four cornerstone foundation and the balanced elevation of its spiral, could you be more explicit in describing what's happening at the apex? I'm not sure. The Hathors. Well, the apex always changes and moves, Virginia. I mean, there's the whole composite energy from the four corners up to the apex at the top of the pyramid arise in an ongoing spiral movement. The Hathors. Yes, yes. The pyramid extends. We are using the pyramid as a metaphor to describe something that is not truly this way, but as a model to try to communicate something. Using this model, when you have reached the pinnacle of the pyramid, this will be a high point of consciousness where you are more aware than you were before of your life force, of your relationships, of how you're working and serving, and of your relationship to the sacred elements. The consciousness increase would be a pinnacle, the high point on the pyramid. However, as you begin to move to the higher level, the pyramid gets larger and extends further upwards so that you never reach the end. That's why we can be humble, truly humble, in serving you. Truly, we have learned that the spiral is infinite and there are beings far more developed than we are. So it would be ludicrous for us to judge you. It would be an absurd waste of time and energy, and it would bring us back down the spiral. Virginia, so you notice, but don't judge our faults? Hathor, yes, it's just an observation. It's not a judgment. Virginia, then in your experience, those in your culture who assist us in some way are expanding into higher awareness on the pyramid. The Hathors, yes, that is the law of the pyramid. We do this for self-interest. But because you are our brothers and sisters, it is loving self-interest, laughing. By serving you, we grow. The more awareness, masterfulness, compassion, and love we use to serve you, the higher up the spiral we go. So we all move upward together. There are some people who slide back down, but that's fine because there is free will in the process. Eventually, when someone hits the bottom, that person can still go back up because there's no other ultimate direction, with much laughter. Virginia. So let me be clear. We talk about our personal ascension and also our relationships with others and how obviously vital these relationships are. As people move into spiritual groups, networks, and communities, then, because they like and enjoy the energies of other people who have a similar vibratory frequency, does that mean they're being judgmental about those humans from whom they do not feel the frequency vibration? The Hathors. Not necessarily. Spiritual community is a powerful means to help lift oneself up. But let's say that two persons from the community go to the grocery store. If one of them looks at everyone as inferior, thinking, look at those people, they're not aware of what we are aware of. We are the chosen ones. That's judgment. And you see, when I tell you I don't like the chosen ones thing, I don't like it because we're all chosen. We just choose the experience that we want. We are all are accepted, none are rejected. There's chosen ones. I've seen it all over the YouTube. Chosen ones. Chosen ones. We're all chosen. We're all special. We all have all the same potential, equal potential. Probably not the same. We wouldn't manifest in the same way, but just as needed, just as needed. That's judgment, that's spiritual ego, and that is dangerous because they're sliding down the spiral of ascension instead of rising up. Another person in the community could go to that store and see clearly that these people are not as aware, but hold no judgment about it. Perhaps even have compassion and understanding because they have been there before. They would know that in the infinite ascension of the great unending spiral, even their expanding consciousness is limited compared to others beyond them. Truly, there are beings who far, far surpass them. So it is relative. What you create internally in terms of acceptance and peace is a critical issue. And also, to the people that are saying chosen people, no judgment on them because I understand that you know, feel that you are aware of something that others are not aware of. So you do want a way to describe it, and you're finding a way, right, to make yourself probably to help yourself process it. So no judgment on that either. But I just don't align with that wording. I don't align with it at all. Virginia, so during the time of shift and change in the DNA and all these ascension factors you've been discussing, what is the value of being with many other people who open their hearts and minds to greater understanding? The Hathors. There's a harmonic that is set up when people of like minds and hearts are together, and it reinforces their own vibratory fields in that higher realm. But we would also say that it is valuable to interact with as many other people as possible who don't have that vibratory field. This exchange provides an opportunity to master one's judgment and relate with different energies from a place of stability and balance. And that is what truly will accelerate your evolution more quickly. Interaction with beings who are not of your like mind can be most instructive. So maintaining your frequency, maintaining your vibration, through, I'm sorry, I just, um, maintaining your frequency through probably not, I don't know why it's not me, optimal, circumstances. That's, I think, what the Palladians described as self-mastery. So you want to maintain. I think that takes practice, and also learning what your frequency is, where you're happy, where you're optimal, what feels good, you know. Virginia, how does this relate to those people who are energy healers, Hathors? It's primarily a question of attitude. If the healer channels the healing force or energy without judgment about the person being healed, the healing will be pure. If the healer holds judgments about the person being healed, as the healing force is channeled, then the healing won't be pure. Something of the healer's judgment would be communicated energetically to the one being healed. This would be a disservice, and if a healer cannot suspend his or her judgment, at least during a session, it would be best if the session were cancelled. The thought form of judgment can have negative impact, even if no words are spoken. When the one you call Jesus of Nazareth knelt down and washed the feet of his disciples, it was a great lesson. Here we have a master being who brought himself up the spiral ascension so profoundly and to such an elevated level that he could say, the Father and I are one. Imagine a being of this magnitude getting on his hands and knees to wash the feet of beings who were absolutely unconscious compared to where he was. That is the love teaching. And it was not done out of ego. It was done out of an honoring and a celebration of the essence of those beings. It was done without any judgment. That is the model for an ascended being. A truly ascended being has no trouble washing the feet of those who are less spiritually developed. Virginia, yes. And could you indicate how the spiral of ascension, based on this four-cornered pyramidal balance, affects the DNA of, or those qualities we call hereditary genetics? Lord, the sun. Hathors. Genetics, heredity, both the physical genetics as well as emotional effects of family lineage that are held genetically are all mutable. They can change. And the changing of these patterns comes through an interface among the car, the emotional body, and the physical body. I'm sorry. They can change. And the changing of these patterns comes through an interface among the car, the emotional body, and the physical body. Within the car, of course, is the life force and strength, the power that one can access. If the strength of that power is strong enough and the emotional body holds a particular resonance, coherency of joy, unconditional acceptance and love, then that resonance moves into the physical body, actually into the DNA patterning, and can change genetics. Your science will see more of this occurring as more humans discover how to surrender to high states of joy, love, and acceptance. There'll be some interesting things happening on the genetic level over the next several decades. This will be intriguing to your scientists. Virginia. There are many scientists already at work in various projects in the United States to understand the composition of DNA and how the little snippets can be used to shift or change genetic disease. Are there any particular comments to be made about this kind of activity and where it can lead positively or perhaps not so positively? The Hathors. You mean the discovery of the genetic map? Virginia. Yes. Hathors. Well, like all activities of humans, it can go either way. The genetic mapping is an external technology that allows the manipulation of the genetic information. And it is neither good nor bad. It's simply a technology. If one wishes to change genetic structure out of a positive life-affirming desire, then it will become a tool reinforcing life. If it is used to suppress life, to contain life, to manipulate, to adversely control others, that is anti-life. And you have a mess on your hands as a civilization. Given the wide dichotomy of human behavior, it is an area of concern. Virginia, yes, thank you. My question most specifically is, can manipulation of physical genetic material afford and provide ascension in consciousness to those who haven't done the other kinds of things you have discussed? The Hathors. No, that would be spiritual materialism, which is the belief that by splicing genes or ingesting a genetic chemical, you can progress without personal growth. The ancient alchemists were involved in this, and some of them were deluded into believing that finding a magic potion would transform their consciousness, and that they would not have to do with anything personal. Ah, yes, the magic pill, the magic elixir. And now it's the magic of genetics. All of the consciousness must be elevated. If one simply focuses on the body and manipulates the energies of the body, there can only be an elevation of awareness of the body through the body. But if your relationships are not engaged, if your work and service are not engaged, and if the sacred elements are not engaged, you will continue to be out of balance. Virginia, yes. Then could you comment on some of the current belief systems on the planet related to ascension? We have people here who say that beings that we would call alien or extraterrestrials will come and land or beam us up. We also have the possibility of ascension through the photon belt. Those are the two major ones, the Hathors. When we first started this book, we said, we are not your saviors. We are not messianic. We wanted to clearly step out of that projection so that the reader understood that we were simply elder brothers and sisters offering our understanding and what we have learned. You may take it or leave it, but we offer it freely. In our understanding, the belief that different alien intelligences are going to save you, and the belief that when you enter a floating belt, you'll magically be transformed are just predictions of human unconsciousness, projections of human unconsciousness. The hope that someone or something will save you, that you will not have to make any changes in yourself, that you will not have to be responsible is unrealistic. The belief that you can stay in patterns of lethargy and unconsciousness, then take something or have something given to you that will transform you without any effort on your part is sheer folly. It won't happen. Now, there may be alien intelligences that land, but they certainly exist. But those humans who count on others to bring their ascension and elevation without any work on their part are going to be very disappointed. Ascension is a process of self-awareness and mastery in all levels, and it necessitates bringing all those levels of one's existence upward. That is how we see it, and that is how we have done it for millennia. Virginia, would you care to make a further comment on the photon belt? The Hathors. It's highly overrated in its effects. Virginia, are we actually in a relationship with the photon belt? The Hathors. Yes, there are more particles of light, but it is not going to have the effect that some people think it's going to have. At least not from our understanding, our science, and our perception of it. Virginia. Can you even see me? This light is so bright. Wow. Virginia, you would naturally be involved in this whole matter of the solar system entering in relationship with the photon belt, wouldn't you, since you're near Venus? The Hathors, yes. Virginia, so would you be looking at the photon belt as potentially helpful? Don't worry, guys, he's okay. He coughs like that because his esophagus, the vet said, like has some kind of curvature. So when he sits a certain way, he coughs like that, but he's okay. You might hear it randomly. So okay, so Virginia says to the Hathors. Virginia, so you would be looking at the photon belt as potentially helpful, the Hathors. It is helpful, yes, but it will be disturbing to some. Virginia, can you be specific what you mean by helping and disturbing? The Hathors. As you increase the intensity of light, there is an opportunity for the car to draw in that light and to incorporate that into the physical body and all of its various fields. This can be an impetus to the spiral of ascension because you have more energy and more awareness, Virginia, to apply to the four corners of the pyramid, the Hathors. That's correct. Now, if a person has not made that decision to move upward along the spiral and to attend to the four corners, then what happens is that the light that comes in can actually be an irritant to the emotional body, thus causing a person to act more irrational and more emotionally. And you will see as we move into greater intensities of light that some humans will become more aware, more balanced, and more compassionate, while other humans become more irrational, more violent, and more contracted. The light fuels the fire of creation or the fire of destruction. The choice is made within each individual. Virginia. So in terms of your own scientific interest in the photon experience of acceleration here in the solar system, do you have a timeline for its occurrence? Are there general scientific principles that we could be descriptive about? The Hathors. Yes. Pause. We're retrieving someone in a group who can explain it to you in terms that are both scientific yet can be understood by your average reader. It is a very complex anomaly. You, the sun. There's no like, oh, let's try this position. Okay. Let's listen. I was trying. That is how we see it. Everything is harmonic in relationship. There is a harmonic impulse that we set off by the original source when the universe came into existence. It is cyclic in nature, and its fundamental harmonic dictates that certain things will tend to move or certain directions will occur at various timelines. This is like the fundamental tone of the fundamental wave. If you will, we have a fundamental wave that was set off by the impulse of creation. Within that fundamental wave, each realm is also emitting its own waves. Thus, we have waves upon waves of harmonics that tend to bring into existence or tend to move out of existence certain phenomena. The photon belt is one of these. The photon belt allows greater awareness, greater spiritual opportunity. It is simply a door of opportunity. A human may take it or not. A Venusian may take it or not take it, but I guarantee we're all going to take it, much laughter. The door of opportunity is an increased intensity of light. The increase of intensity of light is starting. It's already happening, and you can see people losing their emotional balance, people being irrational, and terribly damaging things, doing irrational and terribly damaging things to each other. Simultaneously, however, and you don't often see this in your news, miracles are happening. Yes, that's why I do the Hello Friend news broadcast, where we talk about one or two news stories that are like for the day, and then we talk about like 2 or 4 good news stories. So it's a more balanced take of what's going on in the world, and it's not just feeding into this negative fear and negative feelings. We also break down the news story of the day into what we can learn from it on an individual level, how we can take what's going on in the collective and look at our lives on an individual level and see if we can make changes, have better understandings, have more love and less judgment. That's what we do. So check out Hello Friend news broadcast. It's on YouTube, and it is also on Apple iPods and Apple Podcasts and Spotify podcasts. I wonder if I can put a link. I will try. I don't think I can put a link in the Apple Podcast thing, but maybe I can put it in the YouTube thing. I don't know. I will try. But just Google it. It's there. It's there. If you can't find it, email me and I'll send you the link. Or comment and I'll send you the link. If you want to email me, you could email me at ayana.critchlow@gmail.com. AYANA.CRICHLOW and I can send you the links. But that's what I think this news, we need to be a little more balanced with our news. Okay, so let's get back to the story. They're saying that miracles are also happening, not just negative news, right? Because most of our news, because most of your news is a source of entertainment, emphasizing torture, violence, and pain, not joy, service, and elevation. You miss the good information to cheer you on. There are wonderful miracles occurring, healings between individuals, and remission of illnesses occurring. This is happening worldwide, but in terms of the media, you don't often hear about it on the nightly news. Not only is the intensity of light increasing because of the photon belt, but the galactic core is emitting high energy particles that your physicists have recently discovered. They are measuring its increase, but don't grasp that these particles are seeds of higher states of consciousness. In other words, it's a gifting. They're gifting us more light. Oh my goodness! If you use that way of looking at it from the universe. In other words, it's a gifting if you use that way of looking at it from the universe. Here are these energy gifts to move you further along the spiral if you choose. But if a person has not made the choice to move upward along the spiral and to attend to the pyramid's 4 base points, then these elevating energies actually become a source of disturbance and imbalance. All of us within the solar system are clearly going through this process. And as best we can estimate, it will reach an energetic crescendo in the first decade or so of the next millennium, probably around 2020 AD. We're 2024, advanced star, okay? Oh my goodness, the photons in these particles are actually affecting you, us, and other higher dimensions as well. It's affecting all dimensions in the solar system, not just your third dimension. Virginia, you mentioned galactic core. Could you be more specific about what you mean by that? The Hathors. The center of the galaxy, Virginia. So all physical matter and consciousness is affected by the photons, the Hathors. Yes. Virginia, is there anything further about the timeline we should know? The Hathors. Well, it's relative because there are many variables. Therefore, if we give a timeline, you have to realize that this is a probable timeline only as we look at it, since the universe is always changing. It is not a constant. You can't predict anything for certain, especially now since everything is in a high state of flux or change. However, if we said earlier the primary harmonic is due to reach what we would call a crescendo in terms of wave mechanics, 2000 to 2020 AD. Virginia. We have Mayan calendars that simply end at 2012 AD, and also many different reports indicating that there will be many changes around the turn of this century, the Hathors. Yes, the photon belt originates from non-physical hyperspace and is a band of high-intensity light particles. As indicated, Earth will be in this belt through the first decade or 2 of the next millennium, though by that time the effects will have started to diminish. However, as we have said, the photon belt is only one part of what is occurring energetically. Virginia, do you feel that your own balanced lives of service will take you to the 5th dimension by that 2020 AD time you mentioned? Or how do your own people look toward these processes? The hassles. Well, there's a wide difference of opinion after. We are primarily a practical race, and our experience over these millennia has shown us that, in a sense, the theory of where we're going and when we're going to get there doesn't matter. What is vital is that we surrender ourselves in love to the highest possibility at each of the 4 base points of our own reality, our own pyramid. We will then ascend at a rate that is balanced both for us individually and as a culture. While there are Hathors in our civilization who have already gone to higher dimensions. As civilization, we tend to hover around fourth. But there are those Hathors who have already ascended to higher levels, and they work with us and serve us as Jesus served you. Because from their exalted point, it serves them and their own process. Virginia. Then, as we spiral in the energy of possible ascension, do you see our planet Earth ascending in these timelines you mentioned between now and roughly 2020 AD? And is it likely that the human family will ascend in large numbers? The Hathors. We are speaking, the Hathors, you're speaking specifically of the transition from three-dimensional space to four-dimensional space. Virginia, yes, or beyond, hopefully someday, the Hathors. We are watching with interest what is occurring on your planet. It is not yet clear to us what the final outcome will be, but it is so interesting and intriguing that we can say to you that beings from other dimensions and other universes are crowding into the solar system to observe what is happening. It is very, very crowded in this quadrant of the galaxy now because of who is here observing these events. What is getting ready to happen and is in process has never quite happened before in this way. There is a possibility, we would say, based on our observations up to this point, that Earth has, her will, that Earth, as you know her, will fully ascend. In that moment, if she chooses to make this ascension, there is a possibility, a very strong possibility, that it will occur within these probable 2000 to 2020 AD timelines mentioned. Those beings, however, who are not prepared or willing to move upward with the Earth will leave, and they will find their abodes, and they will find other abodes, because it will be a very intense energetic phenomenon for the entire planet to move up an octave. There will be some beings who also ascend independently, whether Earth ascends or not. However, we wish to share our understanding about ascension and our bias towards it. To us, it does not matter what happens to the Earth as far as whether she ascends or not, or to humans as to whether they ascend or not, or when or how it will occur. What is crucial in the present moment is what choices each human makes in the four corners of their pyramids with relation to their own ascension. For the ascension process is a never-ending one. The goal is not to get to a particular octave of consciousness. The goal is to surrender to love and to the highest possibility in each situation that is presented in one's life. And that serves the whole, that serves the individual in elevating his or her consciousness. Whether they ascend or not, or whether they find themselves dying physically, does not matter. We have observed that this phenomenon of ascension is perceived much like a marathon for some. And they seem to believe that he or she who ascends first is the winner. This is not our view. And we want to be very clear in communicating our bias. Our belief is based on the successful method that we have developed over the millennia, which affirms that the goal is not merely to ascend to another octave. The goal, as we see it, is to live our lives as fully and as richly as possible, constantly surrendering to the greater power of love and awareness. Agreed to live a full, whole life that's specifically curated to you. In living well and acting to create the highest possibility in every corner of your life and experience, our culture, our families, and our communities, our civilization is elevated. Whether we remain in the dimension where we are now or another does not matter, because in the infinity of the cosmos, all of us will ascend. Our advice as we approach the next millennium would be not to concern oneself much with the timetables and phenomena of this time. They will take care of themselves. Besides, they are of such cosmic proportion as to be immune to your thoughts or interventions. It would be far more beneficial to change those things that you can. And what you can affect is the amount of love you bring into your world. Love starts with yourself. That's the simplest way I can break it down. Start loving yourself. Start loving yourself. Start loving yourself. It begins the process. What does that mean? Listen to yourself, honor yourself, do what you like to do. So it doesn't harm anyone. Take time with yourself. If you're tired, rest. If you're hungry, eat. If you want to go outside, go outside. If you want to talk to somebody, talk to that person. Do not like suppress yourself, you know? Just love yourself. I think I have to focus more on what loving yourself means and how that comes out. Because I remember hearing this like years ago and I just like couldn't understand it fully. Like it seems like a simple thing, but it really is not that simple, you know, if you don't know what it is. You know, how do you love yourself if you don't like yourself, if you don't like how you think, if you don't like how you look, if you don't like your life, the people in it, the work you have? How do you love yourself then? By starting with small things. What do you like now about yourself? What do you want to do right now that you can do for yourself? And start from there and go from there. Anyways, as I sit in the evening sun, beautiful sunset that's blessing us, I say good night and see you next episode. I hope that you know that you are loved, that you are loved, and that the world is better because you're in it and you are loved. Anyways, guys, have a great day. Talk to you guys next episode. Bye.